A lot of key players not participating in practice for the Buccaneers or the Ravens. We tell you which would impact the game the most. And then Evan is going to tell you why the Bucs are going to deliver a prime victory Thursday night. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. We thank you for making us your first listen or view every day. I am James Yarcho, joined by my Wednesday co-host, the one, the only, Evan Kolosky of Tampa Bay. Of course, you can check everything he's doing over on 10 Tampa Bay and at 10tampabay.com. You can check out my work at bucksnation.com. Of course, follow everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JArco_Bucs, and at eKlosky WTSP. Again, we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. Evan gets to participate for the very first time in the confident and concerned about that David and I usually do. That's going to be coming up.
The confident thing is tough. It's a tall order right now.
It is, but we're going to get
confident. I'm confident that I'm going to be yelling at my TV. That's what I'm confident about.
Always. I yell at my TV during The Office just for no, discernible reason. But Evan, there is some good news, bad news situations going on with the injury report. Let's start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cam Brate, Carlton Davis, Russell Gage, Luke Gedeke, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Antoine Winfield Jr. all listed as did not participate for the second day in a row. Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Ko Keefe, Shaq Mason, all upgraded from did not participate to limited, while Akeem Hicks was limited for the second consecutive day. So of those players, which one missing Thursday night could be the biggest blow, or which one playing would be the biggest boost when you take a look at guys like Julio or Akeem Hicks that could be in play for Thursday?
So let me just do both. And first off, if you're watching on Locked On Bucs Podcast on YouTube, which you should, I apologize. I look like a ghost. I can't figure out this situation. Like I need a cap. But the biggest issue is Antoine Winfield Jr. Like I cannot understate how important that man is to this defense. He is arguably the best player on his team, offense, defense. He is that good. He was playing like an all-pro. So not having him really limits the versatility and also just takes your best defender off the field against one of the most special talents in the NFL. Okay, so definitely hating the fact that Antoine Winfield Jr. won't suit up. Number one, there's some, obviously I can go on about each player not suiting up and why that hurts, but that one's the biggest. As far as the biggest boost, if Akeem Hicks can be back, I cannot understate how much that would help because it's no coincidence that they've lost the push inside the minute he's been taken out. When you can have Akeem and Vita Vea up front, you cannot stop both, right? You have to double Vita, which leaves Akeem one-on-one. He's going to wreck you, which is going to create pressure in the pocket. Go talk to Tom Brady how he feels about that interior pressure. Once you do that, now you're working the quarterback outside the pocket where you got Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and Shaq Barrett right there to eat some sacks. Everything works in concert with each other, but if you can't create the internal push, then you're creating longer distance for Joe Tryon and Shaquille Barrett to get sacks. That's why you haven't seen many of them. And the only times you did really see a quantity of them was against Marcus Mariota, who's trying to scramble, and his first instinct is to get out of the pocket, which created some help for the Bucs defense. So if there's a slight spin zone, maybe Lamar runs into some, Shaq and Joe Tryon a little bit more in this game. But, I also believe that Lamar is a wee bit better than Mariota. So,
Yeah.
but still, like Hicks being back would be monstrous. I don't know if it's such a big game. There's part of you that thinks like waiting another 10 days to just have him be good makes the most sense. But at what point do you say, I don't know, man, like if you're good to go, you got to play, even if it's limited snaps.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not too sure that I want to try to force Lamar Jackson to the edge. I think I want to keep him inside of that little bubble. But on the Ravens side of the ball, you take a look at their injury report. Mark Andrews, Josh Bynes, Calais Campbell, Ronnie Staley all did not participate. But wide receiver Rashad Bateman was added to the injury report on Tuesday as it did not participate with a foot injury. Anytime you're added during practice week, that's usually a real bad sign for you. So Bateman's availability is definitely in question right now. Do you think the Bucs might be catching the Ravens at the right time with some of these key players like Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Calais Campbell? You know, these guys appearing to be on track to not suit up.
Yeah, I mean, Campbell's an illness. My hunch is right. He'll play.
Probably.
And then we also, this is such a weird week because no one's really practicing. They're going through walkthroughs, albeit you're supposed to designate people as if you are practicing. So right. It really should be the same thing. But ultimately, you also get a lot of mind games involved in this stuff as well. So not saying that Bateman is or is not going to play. Just saying that there, more than any other week, our instincts and the way it happens is a little bit thrown for a loop when it's playing on Thursday and people being a bit more mysterious. I would not say that the Buccaneers are playing the Ravens at a great time. I think that no matter what, like the way that the Ravens are hurting or the ways that the Buccaneers are hurting, right? Any team that plays on a Thursday night, you are going to be screwed in some regard as far as some guys getting back on the field. So you have to both teams have to deal with it. You're getting a discounted version of both teams. That's why Thursday Night Football sucks. That's why it sucks. Because it's a bad product. Why is it a bad product? Because you're not getting the best out of the best. These guys, like you're in a car crash on Sunday, and then you have, pretty much your Wednesday is when you're supposed to get back into the groove of things, and that is your Saturday again. Like, it is absurd what they do to these players. We all know it has nothing to do with their, the player safety, the health. They need to make the money, which is always a joke when they try to, say we're thinking about the players. We want more safety. Right. Thursday Night Football is the antithesis of that. But nonetheless, everyone has to go through it once. You got to figure it out. You got to rise above it. And I don't know. Maybe playing a team like the Ravens at a discounted version is more important than the Ravens playing the Bucs at a discounted version, because guess what? I don't know how much more discounted they can be.
It's worth mentioning that the Houston Texans did cut former Buccaneers wide receiver Tyler Johnson. Maybe that's something to keep an eye on as Tyler Johnson is looking for a new job. But if you are out there hiring, looking to bring someone in to your facility, our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs can help. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. I've talked about hooking up with a company on LinkedIn Jobs because I was the candidate they were looking for. They had the job opening I was looking for. Boom, match made in heaven. I became their catering chef. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach a network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. You add your job, the purple hashtag hiring frame, to your LinkedIn profile and spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 and delivering quality hires versus their leading competitors. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. You the kind of person that still wears shorts in the winter? Because I am. I do it all the time. It doesn't matter if it's Florida or 10 degrees in New England or Chicago or Southwest Ohio. They have their signature shorts with built-in liners, the most comfortable shorts in existence. I am actually not kidding. I'm wearing mine right now. And I have to say that these are some of the most comfortable shorts I've had in a very long time. My wife even pointed out how nice they were the very first time that I put them on and said that I should wear them more often. And she hates everything that I wear. So go to birddogs.com, enter promo code Locked On, and they're going to throw in a free Bird Dogs rope hat. That's birddogs.com with promo code Locked On, and boom, a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs. The most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. You will not take these things off, I promise. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. But if you're listening to this, you're probably not just a football fan. You're probably a sports fan. So make sure that you check out Locked On Sports today for the biggest news in all sports. Of course, you can find that on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Confident in, concerned about, coming at you in just a minute. But Evan, let's get to a question from the old email inbox. It's been a while since you've had to answer an email or a voicemail, but Brandon emailed in and asked, before Bowles gets Brady injured, should the Bucs look at signing someone like Quentin Spain, who is still a free agent?
I don't know. I don't know if it does anything. That's the genuine thing. Like, people want to make moves sometimes, and I totally get that, and I think there's something to be said about that. But does it actually create a big increase in production? Like, is that going to do you think that's going to change things?
I mean, I don't know. Quentin Spain is still a free agent for a reason, right? David texted me earlier today and said Eric Flowers is still out there as well. Are they an upgrade over Luke Gedeke? Maybe. But if they were, would they still be, out there as free agents? Maybe there's issues there that teams feel they're better off with who they have. I do think an upgrade somewhere along the offensive line does help immensely. I think a lot of the play calling issues, a lot of Brady's issues has to do with the lack of trust in the offensive line. And I've said before, and I think you and I have talked about it, that once Ryan Jensen comes back, if you can slide Robert Hainsey over to guard, that's an immediate upgrade to your offensive line. And now all of a sudden, Brady has a little bit more time. Those running lanes are a little bit more open, and they stay that way a little bit longer, and maybe the offense starts clicking. But, to me, it all starts up front. But a guy who is still a free agent offensive lineman 8 weeks into the season, it's probably not a great sign.
Yeah, so it just, to me, I think you're just compounding the problem, in my opinion. Not to mention we haven't even hit the trade deadline yet. Who's to say that they're not going to trade for someone and try to bring someone who is on a roster right now? And honestly, if I'm Jason Light, I'm willing to do whatever and anything to bring in talent to secure this position. And despite the 3-4 record, despite how stinky they look, all right, the probabilities still say they'll win this division. And it's not going to take much. We have seen teams win a division 7-9. And the fact is, with the talent on this roster, getting into the dance is the most important thing. Okay? We see the Tampa Bay Lightning do it all the time, right? It's not the prettiest during the regular season. They used to do it pretty. They learned it doesn't work. So, last year they looked very pretty and were super injured. And it didn't matter because they got to the dance and they just didn't have their best players. So I think that they got to be buyers. And then let's kind of talk after the trade deadline, because I need to see the creativity from Jason Light, John Spytek and company for what they can do to inject talent into this team. And one would assume that Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have to make a decision before the deadline because teams are going to have to know whether they need to address that or not.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's definitely something that we are going to be keeping an eye on. But Evan, let's talk about what we're confident in and concerned about. I'm going to kick things off with what I'm confident in, and that's David, Lavonte David, Buccaneers super spy. I am confident that Lavonte David, a la Derek Brooks versus Michael Vick, is going to be the guy tasked with trying to keep Lamar Jackson at bay. He has the closing speed. He has the intelligence. He has the wherewithal to make sure that Lamar Jackson isn't the guy gashing the Buccaneers throughout the entire game. If I'm going to trust anybody on this team, especially as you mentioned with Antoine Winfield Jr. out, who is a guy that can drop back and protect against that deep ball, but he can also crash the box and make sure that Lamar Jackson isn't running for 15 yards a carry. Lavonte David is the guy that I would pick to make sure that Lamar is not doing anything crazy out there.
Yeah, and I want to say this, like Lavonte is no splash plays, very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Evan White, splash plays, wildly inconsistent.
Yes.
So you have quite the dichotomy here in linebackers, and there's probably a whole podcast to be had about Devin White and what he provides and what he screws up and everything in between. I'm not so sure that Todd Bowles' comment about the Super Bowl wasn't directed at Devin. So
he was the first one I thought of.
I think that's kind of where it's just he's got to be consistent every game. And he was feeling himself early. And it's kind of tapered off a little bit, hasn't it? I'm confident in the offense scoring, which is sad for me to say. It's really tough because I watched the tape. I listened to them. Execution, awareness, being on the same page. It's all nothingness. It's all right. We've heard it for 7 straight weeks. There's something else there when you're doing it for 2 months, right? But the thing is, it really is execution. I don't know if the plays per se are the problem. I think there's a predictability element, which is part of the ambiance of this all. But you know, the Buccaneers need more Chris Godwins. They need wide receivers who can frickin' block and like getting down and dirty and grimy, because some of these rushing issues, while often attributed to the offensive line, and sure that's part of the problem, the wide receivers aren't doing their job either, especially on that 4th and 1 in the Carolina Panthers game. That was on Russell Gage and Mike Evans, especially Russell Gage. And I put on my Twitter account, you'll see this pretty much the same play work against Pittsburgh because Mike Evans did a great job blocking, and it didn't work against Carolina because Gage had an awful chip. So, but I am confident this team is going to score. And once they can score, they're going to get it rolling. What goes up must come down and vice versa. We are so due for like a 4-touchdown performance from this guy. So I think that once they break the seal, things are going to get moving. Once they get positive energy and they figure out what that formula is, they're going to be full steam ahead. So I'm confident they get off the schneid, they get in. It's sad that that's what I'm confident in, but the reality is they have like 1 touchdown in the last 22, 23, 24 drives, whatever it is.
All right. Concerned about, for me, it's the desperation creating more problems, and I'm talking about Julio Jones. You have Russell Gage, who has not participated in practice yet this week. And again, you talked about how the injury report is kind of a if they were practicing, but it doesn't bode well for Russell Gage playing. But then you have Julio, who comes back as a limited participant. They need, they're obviously feel like they need some sort of spark, something to happen. Are they going to push him out on the field, causing more issues with that knee, causing him to miss more time again when he should have been shelved and put on the IR 2 weeks ago? I think desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's going to be the wrong call that they are going to make.
Yeah, and I'm most concerned about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Very simple, but if you look at the 2 long runs in the second half when Antoine Winfield was off the field, why did they happen? They screwed up containment. Zion McCollum, it was bad tape. Not good tape. Rookie mistakes, it is what it is, but he's on the field. And if they are not minding their P's and Q's, if they're not in the right fits and they're not containing, they are going to give up a 70-yard touchdown. They're going to give up some big old chunk plays. So Lamar is the biggest concern, not only because he's Lamar Jackson, but because it takes such discipline to limit him. And I don't know if this defense is disciplined right now or has the personnel.
It's going to be an interesting one, no doubt about that. And, of course, I had brought up on yesterday's show, Lamar Jackson, more or less than 99 rushing yards. Whatever you think, more or less for Lamar Jackson, it's something that you can put your money where your mouth is thanks to Prize Picks. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It's just you against the projections available. Not only do they offer the NFL, but you're talking about NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college basketball, men's and women's, college football, soccer, WNBA, cricket, tons of options to choose from, safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. Wrapping things up here on a WTSP Wednesday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. Make sure that you come back tomorrow. David Harrison will be joined by Locked On Ravens for Crossover Thursday. It is time for our predictions. This is normally what David and I do on a Thursday, but we're not recording an episode until after the game on Thursday. So let's do some bold predictions, player predictions, score predictions. Evan, your bold prediction for Thursday night.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself a little earlier. Bold prediction, 3 touchdowns from this offense. And the boldest prediction of them all, maybe the boldest prediction we've heard all season, they score a touchdown in the first quarter.
You, sir, are a liar. And, I will not believe it until I see it. No, my bold prediction is also on the offensive side of the ball. Mike Evans catches all of his targets, scores twice. Huge bounce back day after that brutal drop against the Panthers. Mike Evans with a 100% catch rate and 2 scores. Evan, your predictive player of the game for this one.
It's funny because you have Evans, which kind of seems like a player of the game. I'm going with Chris Godwin. You know what? When things are going wrong and you can't seem to get in a rhythm, go to the most dependable guy you have. To me, that's Chris Godwin. Yep. I think going into this break, this can be something that gets Chris going. I'm sure he's hurting right now with that turnaround from Sunday to Thursday. But to me, Brady think back to last year, Brady would feed Godwin constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And what Carolina did was they said, you will not check down to the running back. We know you want to get it to Rachaad White. We know you want to get it to Leonard Fournette. And we know you can't run. We're not going to let you hand it off to the running back, and we're not going to let you dump it down to the running back. So what does that mean? You have to adjust. The adjustment is get it to Godwin. The guy is always open. He's always finding holes. I think that he is going to step up. Double-digit catches, 100-plus yards, maybe a tutty in there, but he's going to be the engine for this offense.
Well, let's just hope that the targets to Godwin are at his hands and not his feet.
Yeah, that would also help too.
Tom. Anyway, my predicted player of the game. Look, I'm confident in the guy, and I'm confident that he is going to have a huge performance for the Bucs on Sunday. I am going with Lavonte David, Mr. Reliable, Mr.
Another guy who's Mr. Reliable, yeah.
Mr. I'm going to smack Lamar Jackson upside the head, and he's going to think twice the next time he wants to take off and run with the ball. If they're going to run it, they need to hand it to Gus Edwards, who was on James's fantasy football team.
By the way, Lavonte David, here's an interesting trivia question.
Ooh.
Only 4 players on the defense currently constructed have played against Lamar Jackson. He's only played the Buccaneers one time. And do you know who those 4 players are? I gave one, Lavonte one.
Right, on the defense?
Yeah.
So that would be Lavonte. It would be not Vita Vea.
It is Vita Vea.
It is Vita Vea. Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking the last time they played was
Vea and David actually had really good games. David had a fumble recovery in that 20-12 loss.
So then are we talking Carlton Davis?
He is a third. Yep. Who probably won't be on the field. So
and
the fourth one's a little tricky.
Dean.
Nope.
Sean Murphy-Bunting.
Nope.
Mike Edwards.
Nope.
Oh, well.
Carl Nassib.
Oh, of course.
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Why wouldn't it be Carl Nassib?
I wouldn't. When I saw it, I said I never would have guessed Nassib, but it makes sense. Yeah.
I like that. That's a good trivia question. All right. Well, let's go ahead and give score predictions. Evan, tell people why the Buccaneers are going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going with my pick from Sunday. I'm trying not to be allow the Panthers game to affect me. I'm going to regret this mightily. I said it on the Blitz, which airs Sundays, 8:30, 10 Tampa Bay. You can watch online, by the way. 24-23 Buccaneers, and it's going to come down to a suck-up field goal. We're going to get that fourth quarter drive from Tom. They'll get in field position, and it'll be close to a walk-off. It's just the Ravens have played all but one game within a touchdown, and it just smells like a little bit of a dogfight. As I said, in those Thursdays, you get sloppy football, but usually when the Bucs have their backs up against the wall and they need to score and move down the field, they're able to move down the field. And in this instance, they don't need a touchdown, which is very concerning to me. But if they just need to get in field goal range, that usually isn't the problem for them late in games.
The NFL makes absolutely no sense at all.
None.
You have the Seahawks beating the Chargers. You have just complete and utter nonsense. So in the spirit of how drunk the NFL is, it's absolutely feasible to see that the Buccaneers would lose to the Steelers and the Panthers and then turn around and beat the Ravens, who have a knack this season for trying as hard as they can to give games away in the fourth quarter. I cannot bring myself to pick this Buccaneers team to win until they give me a reason why. I will take the Ravens to win this one 31-21.
Oh,
it's give me a reason to pick you to win.
No, I agree. Like seriously, if I didn't, I'm trying to stick with my Sunday pick and try not to let the overreaction happen. But I will say, if they do not beat the Ravens, I will be picking against the Buccaneers each and every week until they prove to me they can win. It's the same theory I had against the Saints, right? I said I would never pick the Buccaneers to beat the Saints until they prove they can beat them. Now they beat them. Now I can reconsider. But
and I was riding high after I was the only one to pick the Bucs.
Well, you were due after all the losses you took in the past of picking the Bucs over this.
And after the Ravens, they get the Rams. So that's super de-duper with that.
Who, I mean, look, Bucs, Rams, Packers, all teams that were favorites in the NFC, all teams that are experiencing the same thing that you Buccaneers fans are feeling right now, all right? There are only 5 teams with a better record than the Buccaneers in the NFC, all right? And one of them is the dang Seattle Seahawks. Another team, the New York Giants, who have a lucky charm in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's really the Eagles and everybody else.
Make sure that you are coming back tomorrow for that Crossover Thursday episode. You will learn any and everything you need to know about the Ravens ahead of Thursday night. We thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen of the day. Of course, make sure you check out Locked On Sports today for the biggest headlines in all of sports. Check out everything Evan is doing over on 10 Tampa Bay and at 10tampabay.com. Check out the Blitz on Sunday mornings. I'll be there.
Yes, sir. Locked on Bucs burning question of the week, baby.
Right. Every week. Love doing it. Check out everything that I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. Of course, follow everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at eCloskey WTSP. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire those cannons. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.